looking at all the crucifixes, the holy images are closed because Jesus is about to enter into a special mood, a special preparation, a special event that is ahead of him. And this event is so important that it is not any kind of event. And you know why Jesus was making this effort, putting himself in this mood, that eventually on the Good Friday, we will see exactly what he did for us. And on the Sunday of Easter, we all will rejoice, because we are in the grave. We found ourselves in the grave. Grave is a symbol. It's a symbol of a reality where life is not present. Where there's no life, that place is a grave. And it is in the plan of God that none of us must be in any form of grave, any form. Graveyard or grave is not only when we enter and die. Many times, many things about us have died. Many things about us have died. Relationships, different things that have all died. We are all dead in different forms. And it doesn't please God in any form to see us dead. He wants to see life in every aspect of our being. And that's why the reading is well organized, that the readings of today, as Jesus is entering in this mood, you will ask yourself, why this particular mood that is hiding himself from the public ministry? That's why he's still hiding. All the crucifix, everything hidden. He's now withdrawing from the public ministry to take his time to say, what am I going to do? Can I really do this? And what am I about to do? Does it actually make sense? People I want to go into this kind of experience, do they understand it? Do they understand what I want to do for them? Can't I drop it or not? This is the moment. Why? But for him, he knew and he knows what he wants to do, because he realizes that we don't even know that we're in the grave. And that's the worst part of it is when we are inside the grave and we have not known that we're in the grave. That's the dangerous thing. So the Ezekiel, the first reading we have read this morning, I could imagine it Ezekiel who was with his own people in Jerusalem, speaking to them about the mind of God, telling them they need to listen to all the predecessors, Jeremiah, Isaiah, all those came before, that they must pay attention. The people said, we don't care. Because they did not know that they were heading towards the grave. They have no idea that the enemies are coming to put them in the grave. They were taking God for granted. That because we are children of God, nothing will happen to us. Enemies who will put them in the grave are coming closer. And before they knew, they were taken from the land of the living to the land of the dead. They went to exile. There they spent 70 years in Babylon. They thought it was 1 week. 70 years in Babylon. They moved from the land of the living to the land of the dead. Because of whatever that makes that they feel that makes them nation, they're all destroyed. The temple destroyed, the king, all the kings are taken away, all the able, nothing. They moved from the land of the living to the land of the dead. Even though they were alive, but they were all slaves. And the symbol or the metaphor to it could be grave. And you know what? When they were there, they have no atom of hope because they couldn't save themselves. They have no power to save themselves. No idea on how to get out of this, having spent 70 years. It was at this time that Ezekiel was also taken into exile with them. God says to Ezekiel, go and tell my people, I'm going to raise them up from their grave. I am going to free them without them. I am going to save them without them. I am going to free them without their efforts because they have no hope of freedom. I wouldn't know when they heard this message whether they took it to be serious or not. But God did what he said he would do. Because what happened was the Babylonians were eventually conquered by Persians. And God instructed Cyrus, the king of Persia. God inspired him even though he didn't know God of Israel. But God of Israel made him know that he is the owner of everybody on this earth. Though he was a pagan god, God inspired him to ask the people of Israel, go home. As we are talking about this, think about the situation you are. The situation you don't know how to get out of it. There are situations that you do not know how to get out of it. There are situations that you do not have some habits that you have cultivated over a time, that you have tried their best. Is it drunkenness? Any form of habit that you have so much gotten used to, you do not know how to get out of it. That's the grave. And you pray. We must pray that, tell God, God, this habit I have cultivated, I don't know how to get out of it anymore. Save me. Prophesy on my head. Prophesy on my family. Prophesy on my relationship. Prophesy on my business, my joblessness. Any form of situation I am not able to get out of, prophesy that I may get out of it. Because for Jesus to withdraw from public ministry and decide to plan on how to save us, it means our salvation is very important. He realized that we are in serious trouble. And he wants to get us out of it. But we must realize the kind of slave or kind of grave we find ourselves. If you don't know where you are, it is difficult to save you. I am sure that the people of Israel, when they were listening to the beautiful prophecy of Ezekiel, they were looking around, saying to themselves, is it possible? Having been here for 70 years, we have gotten used to slavery life. We have gotten used to being in the grave. That when you get us out of the grave, we wouldn't be able to get ourselves all right anymore. But God made the promise. In every situation we are, we have different forms of being in the grave. And in the gospel of today, the melody, the same topic of grave also passes across the whole process. Now listen to what happened there. It's a beautiful story. John chapter 11, 1 to 42, thereabouts. We're told Jesus had friends. I don't know when, all the time you are reading the Gospel of John, or even Gospel of Luke, the name Lazarus, Mary, and Martha mentioned. How many of you have known about their parents? Anybody? Have you ever known the mother and father of these people? Have you read about their mothers? Their mom, their dad? Where are they? Because John has no idea of telling us the mother. Why the name Martha, Mary, and Lazarus without the parents is something else. John is saying something different. It's not in terms of biological thing. He was talking about the family Christian community. In the Christian community, everybody is brothers and sisters. No father and mother, brothers and sisters. It's a new community. And the community John is presenting to us is a community he wants us to get into. A community where each one is concerned about the grave of somebody else. When somebody is in the grave, everybody is crying, asking God to save that person. Have we developed the eyes to see the grave of one another? To the grave, or sometimes we even put people more in the grave. Is a Christian community a perfect Christian community that we are all called to imitate, to emulate? A Christian community of this kind of, we have here parish, or in the different forms, do we have the eyes to see who and who is in the grave? Martha, Mary, they were calling Jesus the one you love, because in a Christian community, Jesus loves where we gather together as a family. Where 2 or 3 gather in my name, I am there. The moment you're alone, we have a problem. The moment we begin to live alone, segregating ourselves, dividing ourselves, we have problem of having Jesus in our midst. But the moment we are thinking about one another, we are thinking about the good of the other. When someone is sick, we are all sick. Somebody has particular problem. We find a way to get him or her out of the problem. Jesus is present. He loves that particular situation. They told him, the one whom you loved is sick. But Jesus, what happened? Jesus didn't run quickly. Because Jesus wants to say something. What he's going to do for us at the end of this mystery. He waited for 2 days extra. 4 days after, he decided to go. Because in the mind of Jews, when somebody dies, after 3 days, it is still believed that the spirit of the person is outside of him. The body can be there, the spirit can be still hovering around, thinking whether to enter back or not to go enter. But in the 4th day, death, finally. No more return. And what Jesus wants to say is this. Number 1, it is not the mind of God to stop us from dying normal death. Dying normal. No. Because death, normal death, that when we live our life, we die, is natural. So if somebody is sick and is about to die, we say, God, save him, save him. If he dies, we wouldn't say, God, you're not serious, huh? What's the problem? You're supposed to save him. No, that one's natural. He waited for him to die. Not 3 days. They say, okay, but that time the spirit was still hovering around. No, 4 days. The second message is that whether we die or we live, Jesus is in control. Whether we die or we are alive, he is the master of everything. So he allowed him to die before going. And he told the disciples, I'm going to Judea. And we're going there, and they know what happened in Judea. In Jerusalem, there are many attacks. They thought he's going there to fight us. They're going to kill him. They said, Thomas said, let us go and die with him. We know that it's not true, because when the death comes, all of them will run away. We know that. But that was it. Let us go and die for him. He said, no, we're going to meet our friend who is asleep. They say, if he's asleep now, he'll wake up now, maybe have a siesta. It says to them clearly, he is dead in your own terms. But you will see what will happen. What will happen now will make you to know that God owns life and owns death. So if you remain with me, the time I will die, you don't say, hey, the end has come. No, God is still in control of death and life. So you have to understand what is going on. So Jesus says to them, let us go. And as he was getting at the point, entrance of the gate, or close to the house, Martha is always vibrant, even because of Luke. Martha is very vibrant, active. So you run to him, Master, if you were to be here, my brother wouldn't have died. Very true. And he professed her faith. I know that God will answer your prayer anyway. I know. And we know what happened. God answered the prayer. Mary was making a prophecy, and they believed in the resurrection. When Jesus says, he will rise again. Yes! At the end. He will be in the grave on the end. But Jesus will say, no one should be in the grave. We must not be in the grave to the end. No. We must be alive in the Lord till the end. Jesus corrected him. Yes, he will be alive. And something very important. Everybody was weeping. They were mourning. Mary was told that Jesus was here. She came, and everybody was mourning. The mourning of them, and when the Gospel of John says, Jesus wept, they are not the same. In fact, in Greek, they make difference. That the crying of the people is said they weep desperately. They wept desperately. The crying of the people is cry of lack of hope. Death had destroyed the whole world. No. Jesus weeping is the weeping of not the death itself, the cause of the death. What is the cause of death? Sin. He cried the consequences of sin. It's not dying. Dying is a transition. But death, the cause of death. And that particular weeping, inner mourning, everybody saw how Jesus loved Lazarus. If you realize how Jesus loves you, how he loves, especially when we're in a very difficult moment, his inner disposition is beyond imagination. He doesn't want us to be in the grave, because grave is where life is no more. And life is God. To be in the grave is be without God. And to be without God is what's called hell. Hell is the eternal alienation from God. Eternal, you become a stranger to God forever. That's what hell means. Why heaven is eternal communion with God forever. To be with him forever. And not to be with him forever. These are two things. But Jesus says to them, let us go and see the grave. And when they got to the grave, they saw there's a big stone, very big stone, that was used to close the grave. Because for the Jews, life after death and life before, they have no connection. No connection. When we die, we die. As long as we live, enjoy yourself as much as you like. Because once you die, you die. So, big stone blocking the dead and the living. And Jesus says to them, today, from now on, my life on the death, or eventually, we bridge the gap. This stone, remove it. Remove it. There must be a relationship between the dead and their life. All are living one life. So that when we die, we are not dying, we are like two babies or twins in the womb. When one is born, the one inside thinking my brother or my friend or my sister or my brother is no more with us. No, he didn't know, the child wouldn't know that his friend or his brother is in a better world where life is even in abundance until he steps out. The stone is the division between the living and the dead. Jesus said, remove it. That I am the life and the resurrection. I have the life of people who are there and here. We are now one. Get him out. There's somebody smelling. Yes, smelling. That word smelling is the emphasis was this. He is actually dead. And it's good that Mary said it. So that when life comes inside that dead body, they will know what God can do. You know that our life is smelling, really, by the way. The moment we step away from God, we smell. It tells me about that saint, about one saintly man who lived. Before becoming a saint, he lived a very bad life. He lived life of impurity, life of shame, until towards the end of his life, God may have it. He had the opportunity of going a very, very nice confession. After a very beautiful confession, he was so clean and so happy. And after that, one thought came to his mind. He said, I want to go and convert my friend, convert my girlfriend. What was the boy? Let me go and convert my girlfriend. And she will be like me. When he was going there, an angel met him and said, look, stop. If you step your feet there, you will never be the same. If you step your feet there, you will never be the same. Because you see, the inside the friend's house, it has nice, beautiful seats and chairs, but all of them are rotten and smelling. But for you, they look nice. If you sit on them, you will never be the same. Another man who has a gift of God, he has the gift of hearing his guardian angels. His guardian angels. There are people, we have guardian angels, which one of us. But this one has the gift of hears his guardian angels. So no, don't be careful. Be careful of this. Be careful of that. And once he was walking on the way, and he saw a very handsome man coming. Before then, he saw a dead dog that was dead, decayed. This man saw the dog, the stench was too much. He closed his nose and ran away. While the angel was walking slowly. The angel was not running. So when the angel got to him, I said, what? He didn't hear, you don't get the smell of that. He said, don't worry. I will tell you something later. As they were going again, they saw a very handsome man with nice suit, with nice perfume, very beautiful. So the man, as he was passing by the man who is so wonderful, he looked at him, so nice, the nice aroma and whatever. He was looking at him as he was passing, looking at him. Hey, this man, wow, he's so gorgeous, so presentable. And he looked around. He didn't say the angel anymore. Angel run in front. He got to him and said, what happened? When we saw the decayed dog, he didn't run away. We saw this handsome man with he ran away. He said, look, you see that decayed dog? That man's soul and heart is so decayed that dirty dog is a beautiful one than the soul. Inside is decayed. Outside is beautiful. So he is in the spiritual grave, but nobody knew. But only this one spiritual eyes can see. So Lazarus was smelling truly, but Jesus restored the life. You know what Jesus does for us? What he does for us, the plan of God from beginning, is to make sure that we are restored from the grave. Think about what kind of grave we find ourselves this time. In the country, in our families, in relationships. Now, a lot of families are in grave. Divorces are very common. A lot of things, somebody marries today and divorces the next day. The relationship is so difficult now. I encourage all of you. Those of you who are married, do not allow the evil one to cause harm in your marriage. Keep your marriage tight, because the evil want to pour a strong grave in the families to destroy families. Keep your marriage intact, because the evil one is fighting hard to destroy that which God has kept. Keep it intact. Don't allow grave of habits. Any kind of habit you have as a man or woman, I beg you, don't allow the devil to use it to destroy. Because if you allow it, you may have many graves in the family. One person can have more than 5 graves. If you're a man or a woman who cannot hold his mouth tight, anything you see, you talk, whether truth or not, you are in a spiritual grave. A man or woman who lies, if lying is normal for you, spiritual grave. A man or woman who have married, you are married, but every woman outside of your wife, every woman outside of your husband, you go after them. You cannot do without them. You are in the grave. Backbiting. Whenever you see anybody doing good, you will say something to bring the person down. A grave. All those graves is where we must ask the Lord, save us. Be a woman, a man who says the truth all the time. There are graves of joblessness. We have to see which grave we find ourselves. There are great people who are in a perpetual grave. Their work is to make sure that anybody who is doing well in the business, any family that the family is doing well, their work is to go and put asunder. Grave. The person is carrying a lot of graves and pouring that grave to anybody sees. And only a man who will overcome the grave, St. Paul tells us in the second reading, only the man or woman of spiritual character. Unspiritual person cannot know that he or she is in the slave. He's in the grave. And not only that, because he wouldn't know or she wouldn't know, he will accumulate many graves and sharing it to people anybody sees. Sharing the graves. Anywhere you see people that are happy, you put the grave there. Sadness comes in. If you see somebody in a good job, you try to pour the grave so that you do something in that job to lose the job. Any family that is so well, doing well, they're happy, they understand each other, husband and wife, they're trying to manage themselves. He or she brings this one grave and pour to them. They have this harmony and they divide. It's a very good. That's fine. Because he himself is carrying lots of graves upon himself, sharing it to everybody. We have to be, our eyes must be open to see when the one is bringing grave. Otherwise, you accumulate graves from people. Only the one with spiritual eyes can see. A man or woman of prayer. A man or woman who depends solely on God in prayer. A man or woman who is disciplined enough, you'll be able to know that this person or that person, what he or she is saying, cannot help me. Rather, it will deepen my grave. But it is the mind of God that we are saved. And that's why in this mood now, this 5th week, let us enter in the same mood with the Lord Jesus. In any way we can do whatever we can do to put things in order. First of all, don't look outside of yourself. Look within and say, what kind of slave am I into? Pray for the country, Nigeria, that they are in deep grave, serious one. The prophets of Ezekiel is looking at them. But Ezekiel is saying to them, God is saying, Nigeria, I will raise you up from your grave. That's what Ezekiel said. He's telling all of us, this country, I must raise you up from your grave and put my spirit inside of you so that you can live again. So that those who have insulted this country, humiliated this country, the outside the world, who are seeing Nigerians as nothing, we eventually see Nigeria as something. So that when you step outside the country, they see you, they respect you. I remember 1997. When Nigeria, I think 97, I think so. When Nigeria was playing with Atlanta 97, is it? 96. 96, yes, 96. I was in Kenya then. I moved from Tanzania, where I was studying, to Kenya for holidays. That was around June, July, so I was watching the game. And it was good to be Nigerian that time. It was good to be Nigerian. So because when we are winning all the games, and somebody will come to you, are you a Nigerian? And say, yes, I'm a Nigerian. Hey, they said, a Kenyan, they thought in Nigeria, oil is flowing on the street. Oil. They say, well, I wish I'm a Nigerian. Nigerian. Do you know Okocha? I said, of course I know. Okocha from Nigeria. Okocha? Hey, I wish I'm. What of Kano? Nigerian. What of America? Of course, my brother. Do you know things fall apart? We're in the school. China is of course, at home. Pride of whom you are. But now, I told you my bad experience. One of my bad experiences was when I was in Kenya, many years after I went again. And I was telling them about one nice wine that's in Nigeria. Wine. Eva wine. Eva just came that time, Eva drank. I don't know, we know Eva now. So I was proud, telling them how that in Kenya you don't have this kind of wine. You use Nigeria. Eva drank. And unfortunately, within that time there was ordination. And some of the young people from Kenya followed us to Nigeria for ordination. Father Cyril Odia, who used to come here, we came for his ordination. And after the first mass, we came to the room to drink. And I saw Eva drink is there. I told him, look at it, Joe. This is the Eva drink I was telling you. The best. Wonderful. Behold. So I took the Eva drink. To open it was another problem. Then I was asking myself, whether is it the same Eva that I left before I traveled? That I just, a little bit, boom. I said, they used plastic or something. I opened. I gave somebody else, help me. We were helping each other. I said, what's going on? When eventually we opened it, the sound was. I asked them to bring the cups. I put it in my own first and sipped it. Behold, it was blood tonic. I was ashamed. I gave to them, they drank. I said, what is this one? I didn't know that they have destroyed the whole thing. I was humiliated. They were laughing at me. I just closed my eyes. We just carry all of the bottles of water, the blood tonic, and drop them somewhere else. This is when a country is in the grave. We are in the grave. But Jesus says today, I will raise you up from your grave. Let all of us together join hands together to ask the Lord, please, Lord, raise us up, get us out of the grave so we can have light and have it to the full. This is my prayer for all of us through Christ our Lord.